Welcome everybody to the Olympic of Evil 2020. My name is Misty / Chronexia, and today we are gonna be ranking the 30 best anime villains of all time. Get your holy water and your cross, we are about to summon Satan himself out here. We go from conniving, Machiavellian, gossiping tart to straight up Hitler preheating his oven at 350 with a side of mustard in a pipeline. Wow, how to get demonetized in one sentence. Whatever, comedy doesn't have a price. Support me on Patreon. Just like usual, we are gonna be following some preset rules that you are already skipping because you're an impatient bitch. Rule number 1, only one character per franchise. It doesn't always have to be the final boss. I'm cherry picking them because I think most often enough there's better candidate than the final one. Rule number 2, their allegiance can change. Vegeta was at one point a villain despite becoming an ally later on, spoiler alert, but I would still be allowed to pick him if I wanted to. Rule number 3, the definition of villain doesn't boil down to murder children. It can range from genocide to just being a scheming sociopath. As long as their motive is ill-willed, it's allowed. That's it, let's get this party rolling. With number 30, Giovanni from Pokemon. The Pokemon lore is kind of renowned to be pretty tame. Get it? I mean, as long as you ignore all the illegal cockfighting and don't read some of the dex entries, yikes. But despite this being a kid show, you have Giovanni, the leader of an organization actively engaged in Pokemon slavery, theft, and in between the line, murder of scientists working on Mewtwo. I think that counts for third-degree murder. Or Pokemon themselves, i.e. the whole Lavender Town arc, all to advance his own agenda. I think Giovanni is low-key one of the most treacherous villains, but that might be solely in contrast with the fact that Pokemon is a kid show. I don't know, I like him. Number 29, Aizen from Bleach. Jesus, putting in number 20, how dare I? Aizen was originally my reason for wanting to make this list, but the more I was thinking about it, the more I realized, yeah, he's evil, but there's a lot of better ones out there. Aizen was a phenomenal plot twist. Beyond that first reveal, it kind of becomes an empty shell, just a husk, kind of like a Native American staring into the distance for something to happen, like foreshadowing a tornado or a sunset, you can never tell. Anyway, back to Aizen. I like him, probably one of my favorite characters in the Bleach lore, but there's a lot of villain that encompass madness better than him. Number 28, Agnologia, Fairy Tail. Agnologia is just a big meanie. He's what I call him, the Apocalypse Dragon, who feeds on the soul of other dragons, bathing their bloods, and use guild arts as a loofah. He's pure destruction, and if this was a list of the strongest beast around, he'd be top tiered. But I'm more interested in the psychology and the mindset of those characters, and unfortunately, Agnologia doesn't have much to offer besides just being a raw brute set on carnage. Fun enemy, but that's about it. This just in, we interrupt this list to give you the hottest take in terms of gaming. This episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. If you're a big nerd like I am and you're waiting for a new anime to be released this season, then this mobile game will be just for you. Raid is a brand new collection RPG with a massive world that has hundreds of champions. You know, I bleed love for gacha games, and this medieval fantasy setup is right in my wheelhouse. Look at this babe, she kicks butts and wears heels in battle? If that's not true waifu material, I don't know what is. The visuals are gorgeous, the soundtrack is top tier, even the voice acting is really solid.
If I can hit it just right.
Seriously, if you think I'm biased, check out the 1,000 reviews it has. It's almost a perfect 4. So download it with the first link in the description. The game is free to play, has PvP if you're into that, a deep storyline, cool boss battles, and so much more. They're currently having an event right now where you can get 50,000 silver points and an epic champion within the span of a week. You know you love that bragging, right? Don't lie to me. There's constant updates, events, and new challenge to tackle. You can honestly play it for 5 minutes or 5 hours, and it's so fun. Take it from a gacha addicted player. Check it out, and now let's get back into it. Number 27, Gilgamesh from Fate Stay Night. Gilgamesh, on the other hand, is such a rich character that I would be inclined to put him much higher on this list. However, I can't really say he's all that evil. I mean, he has his reason and everything. Is he insane? Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm putting him here regardless. Gilgamesh is a vain, selfish, arrogant twat with a god complex, praises his noble blood and is just as much entitled by it. He's one of my favorite characters in the franchise. Number 26, Madara from Naruto. Oh, here we go again, offending the Naruto fanbase 10 out of 10 times. 26 out of 30 seems bad, but think about the other 10,000 anime that didn't make the list to begin with. It's all about perspective. But yeah, about Madara, he's kind of your run-of-the-mill villain. Sure, slaughter people, aims for his own ideology and the whole shebang. Is he better than any other villain? Not really. There's a lot of villains I like a lot more than him. Obito, Itachi, Kimimaro. But the only one I can kind of label as insane is Madara. The other one had logical reasons for their actions. Number 25, Heathcliff from Sword Art Online. I'll admit the anime didn't really explain Heathcliff's motive all that well, but the abridged version did a resounding explanation, and while it's not exactly canon, I'm gonna go with it, because it makes more sense than I don't remember. Blocking thousands of people in a virtual reality where they can't log out and dying in-game kill you in real life. That's certifiably cuckoo. 2 thumbs up on that one. Great job. Number 24, Envy from FULLMETAL Alchemist Brotherhood. FULLMETAL Alchemist has an entire cast of amazing villains, but Envy always was my favorite of them all. The way they make you feel in his final scene is heart-wrenching, and you feel genuine empathy for him in the end, but that doesn't excuse the fact he started a civil war, killed the arguably best character in the series disguised as his wife, and that's without counting all the other countless people he murdered, down to an innocent Isbalan kid. Truly despicable, and yet so very pitiful. Number 23, Stain from My Hero Academia. Stain is one of the many on this list that has a segregation mindset. If you don't know what segregation means, that's slang for gatekeeping. Basically, you decide who gets to do something or not. In this case, it's whether you're allowed to call yourself a hero or not. In this overcrowded community where just about everyone wants to be a hero, Stain has a mentality that not everyone deserves the title. What's the difference between a hero and a vigilante anyway? Just a license, basically. The movie Kick-Ass has a really good take on the matter, but I get sidetracked. Since Stain decides to kill everyone who claims to be a hero, I figured he was the perfect insane pick for this list. All for one, whatever, but Stain has the more flair if you ask me beyond just the power thirst. Number 22, Erina's dads from Food Wars. As opposed to a lot of people on this list, Erina's dad's Azami Nakamura isn't the murdering type, but don't think that makes him any less insane than anyone else on this list. Azami believes cooking should be withheld only to the elite cook. Unless you're a certified 3 Michelin star owner, you don't belong in a kitchen and should eat dog food as far as he's concerned. It's elitist segregation again about the culinary world. But then you ask me, how am I supposed to become good at the craft if I can't practice it? Well, clearly you can't. You need to be born with the talent. Number 21, Goto from Parasite the Maxim. I think this position would be fitting for him. Goto is a compilation of Parasite all merged into one body, standing as the most skilled and intelligent being of them all. He kind of blindlessly go about slaughtering everything and everyone along his path. His goal being the eventual eradication of humankind. I would classify that as pretty insane. Number 20, Esdeath from Akame ga Kill. Despite the reception of the anime, Esdeath has always been a fascinating character for me. Her downright psychos about sadism and natural selection was a very curious mentality for me. The strong survives, the weak dies, kinda gives her a peace of mind when it comes to murder just about everyone. May that be a character you're fond of, or downright an innocent baby in his crib. She had no qualms with anything and cut down everything to a black and white canvas, which is why she wholeheartedly belongs on this list, if not even higher. Number 19, Monokuma from Danganronpa. Build-A-Bear took a really bad turn. This is Hasbro meets Chucky if I ever saw it. Monokuma is a demonic? Not really demonic, but definitely twisted bear that pits a group of teenagers against one another and take amusement out of seeing them murder each other. If that's not material for insanity, what is? Number 18, Makishima Shogo from Psycho-Pass. Makishima is another one of those twisted, sadistic psychopaths that loves to lean towards cruelty and savagery. Beside all that, he's also a very charismatic character, as they usually are when it comes down to manipulating people. Similar to Monokuma and S-Death, his fondness for chaos just makes him what we like to call in the industry a mean son of a bitch. I don't know what to tell you, he's a bad guy, and even looks like one. Number 17, Yggdrasil from Tales Symphonia. Tales Symphonia is without a doubt my favorite game of all time. Without going too much into detail, the story is about a world vying for the energy of an intertwined other world, constantly going back and forth. Yggdrasil, a former hero, put the system in place in order to stop the discrimination in the world towards half-elves, and by enslaving more people, there's a huge commentary and parallels that can be drawn with Hitler, with concentration camps, forced labor, and so on. It's truly fascinating, and Yggdrasil as a villain is very nuanced, and look, I just can't praise it enough. Favorite game of all time, again, and they made an anime counterpart, so it counts. Number 16, Yami Bakura from Yu-Gi-Oh! I think at this point we've all seen the original Yu-Gi-Oh! If not, then let me walk you up to speed. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There are Egyptian relics called Millennium Items that gives the user shadow powers, one of which is the Millennium Ring and the Millennium Rod, both belonging to Bakura and Madoka respectively. One seals soul, and the other one allow for mind control. It's arguable which of the two is the most wicked, but considering the final arc with Bakura, I'm giving him the edge slightly over Madoka. He's more calculating and psychopathic, while Madoka kinda have a short fuse and thrives on emotions. Number 15, Shishio Makoto from Rurouni Kenshin. Similar to S-Death's mindset of the strong thrives while the weak get disposed of, but instead of just using that as a mean to kill people, he actually seeks to overthrow the entire government. Also looked really scary to me as a kid when I watched the show. I think those past cards kind of make him worse for me. Ruling the world while looking quite menacing and murdering everyone that goes against him? Yeah, that's halfway through the list, I feel like. Number 14, the Major from HELLSING Ultimate. He's Hitler 2.0. I mean, he worked with Hitler. He was put in charge of creating Vampire Nazi. He eventually escapes to South America to pursue his quest of endless war and destruction. The morality compass has been long since tossed aside. There's no reasoning going on this one, it's just pure madness. The kind that's hard to grasp until you see it yourself. Number 13, Queen Beryl from Sailor Moon. Another one of my all-time favorite, you know? As a kid I never really thought much about her. She summons monsters to mess with the Sailor Scouts, big whoop. But then I actually look into the lore and her story is kinda sad. She fell in love with a prince, got rejected, and got corrupted by the Queen Materia. The energy turns her into a jealous and vindictive bitch who murders just about everyone in her path. So yeah, I think she deserves the spot. Number 12, Suzuki Toichiro, aka the President from Mob Psycho 100. Similar to Food Wars, the President has an elitist mindset. He considers people with psychic power to be the superior race, and that anyone else should be wiped off the earth. He's all about showing dominance to rule his organization through sheer power alone. It's an incredibly lonesome mindset, and while he does have a few seconds of redemption towards the end, the whole way through leads him with pure hatred and vengeance. Is ego overconsumed by this god complex? Overall, just a recipe for disaster. Number 11, Johann Liebert from Monster. I keep talking about Monster, so by this point, if you haven't watched it, it's kind of like you're asking to be spoiled. But in a nutshell, it's like Hitler. I keep using him, but he was pretty much the example for bad stuff. It's like Hitler Super Saiyan 2. He uses his charisma and intelligence to manipulate and corrupt the people around him. His endgame is to be the last one standing in the apocalypse. Again, pick it up if you haven't seen it yet. It's some of the finest character development anime has to offer, ever. I can't stress that enough. Number 10, KENSHIN from Soul Eater. I rarely do this, but in this case I'm talking more about the manga version of the character. KENSHIN ends up being the final boss, and it's the whole spiel about the madness. So how can I not put him on the list of the most insane character? Also, Maka's final upgrade, that dress and the piano scythe. So many knights in the spank bank, am I right? Not sure what my deal's with piano at this point, and I'm honestly too afraid to invest into it. Considering adding Medusa as a villain, but KENSHIN is just downright the dictionary definition of certifiably insane. So that's why I went for him. Number 9, Dio from JOJO'S Bizarre Adventure. Dio had to make the cut, of course. Dio always had a fixation on JoJo, a vendetta of sort, going back all the way to his childhood. Some people are just rotten to the core, and I think that fits Dio quite well. Don't get me wrong, I freaking love him. I think he's one of the best villains ever written. So over the top, I mean, how many bad guy ever tossed a steamroller on the good guy? Yeah, exactly my point. Number 8, Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter. Hisoka is my favorite villain of all time. He's completely mad, for sure. He gets off to getting punched by an 11 years old. Sure, he teams up with Gon on occasion, and when fighting him, he actually spares him, but that's only in the optic of letting him grow to become stronger and to then collect on his investment. It's like Bambi from the hunter's perspective. The first time you see Hisoka, he amputates a guy from bumping into him. He tried to murder the licensed hunter a few seconds after just cause he felt like it. Hisoka has his own agenda, and that makes him one of the best, without a doubt. Number 7, Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. Maybe not everyone would agree that Frieza is the best villain from Dragon Ball. For a long time, he wasn't even a hard enemy, but he's definitely had the most murderous vibe going on. Cell and Buu also, but Frieza legit blew up a planet while the other two were mostly focused on eating people. Actually, 2 planets considering Namek. Although deserted by that point, but it still counts, I think. Number 6, Millennium Earl from The Gray Man. The Millennium Earl from The Gray Man is definitely top tier. He turns people into demon and unleash them onto the world to wreak havoc. He would have a mother turn on her infant and shred it to pieces. And as a father of 2, that's just not something I can fathom. It's twisted, and his only purpose is to spread chaos. I think number 6 is quite fitting. And we're finally entering the top 5. Starting off with the Flamingo from One Piece. What a fucking maniac. I get he had a rough childhood, but this is taking it 17 steps too further. There's a lot of good villains in One Piece, but no one that I feel weighs as much as the Flamingo does. Manipulator of the highest caliber. I mean, literally, he turns people into puppets. And then, when things starts to go sideways, he threatens to murder an entire continent. Well, it's more an island than a continent, but you get the point. That includes his allies as well. What a sick fuck. Number 4, the Devil from Black Clover. I don't really understand how more messed up he can be, but that's number 4. An 8 psychopath, hell-bent on destroying everything in its path purely to get what he wants. It's still a bit early in the story to know all of the details about this character, but with a name like the Devil, I think it's fair to assume this rank is only fitting. Number 3, Real Asuka from Devilman Crybaby. Literally Satan himself, who ends up murdering the whole world. Well, minus a few people, since those were killed by other people, and I don't think you can steal the kill of someone you murdered. Like, if you kill a serial murderer, do you become one, or are you labeled as a serial murderer's murderer? That's just confusing. Long story short, he's pretty top tier insane. Number 2, Kyubey from Madoka Magica. I don't think I have ever been more wronged by a kitty than I did in Madoka Magica. You probably saw number 3 and was like, well, what can actually be more evil than Lucifer? Well, it turns out his fucking pet can. We all know the cat version of something's always more dickish than its human counterpart. So there you go, the worst atrocity to ever walk the earth. So what can actually beat this number 2? And that belongs to number 1, Griffith from Berserk. There is no word in which I can use to describe how purely evil, how vile and twisted Griffith is, or rather becomes, especially since that comes with its own set of spoilers. What I can tell you is that it puts the rest of this list to shame. There's genocide evil, there's Satan evil, and then way beyond that, there's Griffith's level. Every dirty trick's in the books. Trust, deception, name it, there's nothing he doesn't do. And to me, to nearly everyone, Griffith is the worse than hell incarnate. That's my list of purely insane and evil characters in anime. Do you think I skip anyone worth mentioning? you should add him or her in the comment section below. And make sure to click that like button, or especially the dislike one. If you enjoyed this video, it doesn't really matter, just click either, it helps me out. But if you enjoyed this video, check out my other ranking list I did recently. We did the fastest speed, strongest list, intelligence, and so on. There's so many more to do. Again, make sure you go wild in the comment section to tell me how wrong I am about all of this, because that really fondled my balls when you do. That's it. That's where my script ends. Thanks for swinging by, tip your waitresses, and don't forget your car in the parking lot on your way back. Unless you've been drinking, then call an Uber to tell him how smash you are before driving home yourself. Okay, bye!
Hard times, I've been on the wrong side, I've been ashamed. So many memories, you know I'd like to change.